It's all for you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End of discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Alright, I want to give a quick shout out to Sky Zoo and Amargo for dropping that intro for me. So I just want to send them some love. But King, thank you for dropping by, man. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking the time. Because I know everybody's coming after you, left and right. But, you know, I'm going to keep it real. I've been following you since 2016 when you dropped the Kickstarter.
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember, King. I had you on the Chronicles of a Hip Hop Legend radio show in 2017.
I remember that name, yeah. Yeah, man.
And when I told Stas and Dee Turner, I'm like, yo, we got to have this guy on because I'm like, yo, this comic book is dope.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And to where it's at now, it's phenomenal. And I just want to give you your flowers while you're here, man, because 2020 has been crazy. And so I'm all about giving people their flowers. And I just wanted to give you flowers right now. And that's why I wanted to do this interview with you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's nice, man. Appreciate it.
Nah, no problem, man. My pleasure. The pleasure is mine. I'm just excited that you were willing to drop on with me because if you want to take a time to let your haters know, because, you know, you did have a lot of haters in the early days. You know, in the early days of the Kickstarters, I remember, like, people like, why is he setting this high goal for a Kickstarter? Like, nobody never heard of this. Like, what's going on? So this is your opportunity to just bask in the glow. I told you so.
You know what? It's funny, man, because I've been, like, it's been a minute with, like, the people out there who throw hate, and it's like, you know, they're still out there screaming in whatever echo chambers they're in and stuff. But whenever something bubbles up, or when stuff bubbled up recently after the announcement, I kind of like looked at a few of the things that people were saying, and I gotta be honest, I felt bad for him. I'm like, you losing sleep over me. I don't even know who you are. Like, you just some random dude who made a new Twitter account yesterday just to throw some shade at me, and it's like, and I'm good. you feeling away. I'm okay. I just had like my 15 minutes, you know, it's like, what's wrong, man? And if you're out there doing it and making your moves and still whining about me, then you're not really focused on what you should be doing, you know? So I saw stuff like that too, where I'm like, yo, if you doing you, why are you worried about me?
Facts, that's facts, man. But let's start to the early beginning, because I think a lot of people don't know the grind of the whole thing that you had to go through. You know, going back, you know, from my previous interview with you, like you knew that writing was your thing at 3 years old. But when did you knew, like, at that, like, later in your life, you're good at this when it comes to character structure and writing a story?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I never think I'm good at it. That's the exercise, but it's also like the pain and the pleasure of writing is like you're always kind of trying to outdo yourself. You're always looking at your work and saying like, I could have done this better. Like, there's nothing that I've ever written that I have looked back at and said, I could have written that a lot better. That story. If I had an opportunity to rewrite Black, I'd rewrite Black. For real. Like, it's just how I am, you know?
No, that's the one thing too. It's, you know, as a perfectionist, you know, you always want to make your work better. But also, too, I think one of the game changers of your life is when you had an opportunity to meet Mr. McDuffie. Rest in peace, Mr. McDuffie. How that kind of changed your life, because you come in like this new kid. You're confident, like, all right, I'm going to go up here to Milestone. They're going to accept me. But Mr. Duffy, like, nah. But talk about that experience, because even though he said you're not ready, he actually took the time to like kind of groom you within that time frame, which I think was like an hour and 2 hours.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
I mean, it felt like a lifetime because, you know, he essentially just laid it down for me and gave me like the green book for navigating comics as a black man. Essentially, like that's the truth, you know. Like what he put down for me is exactly what got my internship in Marvel, which is what got me a job there eventually. And I got accepted to the Marvel internship program twice. The only time I didn't take it the first time was because I was going to Japan for school, and I was like, well,
let's hold off to Japan. Like I want to touch on that Japan too. So yeah. Let's hold off on that a little bit.
But I did the internship. I got in, and it was all because of him, and like just keeping my eye on like what I wanted to do, but also being open to, you know, what I could do, you know, because he had already, you know, set his course and broke boundaries, and I wanted to do the same thing in comics. I didn't want to just become, you know, a fill-in writer or somebody who was just elevating somebody else's brand or something like that, you know. I mean, I worked in the industry for years, and that's different, but when it came to being creative, I wanted to tell my own stories and do my own thing and not have to, like, you know, feel like I'm either, you know, playing in somebody else's sandbox or I have to, you know, write a story in a specific way to please somebody aside from my reader, you know?
No, I feel you. And for all the people who's on now, can you break down the importance of Mr. Duffy, Static Shock? Can you just educate the people on that and how significant that meeting was at that time for you?
It was life-changing. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. He literally changed my life because I was just a young 16-year-old kid who didn't really know what comics were. You know, I knew I wanted to do that, but I didn't know the mechanics. I didn't know the business of it. And he really sat me down and like just kind of broke down. He's like, these are the events that you need to go to. Here's how you solicit an editor. Here's like, what do you actually want to do? Do you want to draw or do you want to write? And at that moment, I was like, I want to do all of it. He's like, you can't do all of it. he's like, you can, but you know, you also got to pick a lane or a craft, so like, you know, and hone that craft so that you can become skilled enough that people will hire you if that's what you want to do. He's like, because we're not here just because of magic. There's a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of careers that went for years before we even got here. And it was that really set it in my mind. It's like, oh, this isn't just a job. This is a career. This is something that I could do, you know, for the rest of my life, and something that I love doing. And to see like black people doing it too, like walking into that office, like, man, I haven't seen that many black people in one place since I was just at a family reunion. You know what I mean?
Or if you're old head like me, I don't remember you. If you remember the movie, you probably do. Boomerang.
Man, come on now. Yes. I even had the soundtrack on tape cassette. You know?
For real. St. Paul, yes. Static Shock, yes. If you're in the comic books, if you know about Static Shock, then you know about Mr. McDuffie.
Yeah, and Static was that character, man. Like, that's the one that really grabbed a lot of kids my age, because especially if you're black, you hadn't seen yourself in that role before. You know, it had always been like Peter Parker. It had always been like, you know, Cyclops. It had always been Iron Man. And like Static just straight up looked like me. Baseball cap, hoodie, the whole nine. Riding on a trash can lid. It's all good.
Yes, the dread line. Yes, dude.
And it wasn't even dreads. He had twists, you know? Because you know, a lot of times in comic books, they only give us like 2 hairstyles, you know?
Right.
But he came out and I was just like, yo, this is coming from, it felt like it was coming from the culture, you know? And it was. You know, and that's what made me read the Indicia and look at the credits and see like, who's making this? Where is this coming from? And seeing how important that is too. And I carried that with me the rest of my life, you know?
And that's the one thing. It kind of feel like, it's like Black is like a dedication to Static Shock in a way. Whoever haven't read the comic book yet, but it feels like a dedication to it because you can kind of get that influence. But also in the comic book, I feel that Japan influence into it too, because you went to Japan, you went abroad. One of my favorite YouTube channels, I don't know if you haven't seen it yet, it's called Black Experience in Japan, and it's hosted by gentleman by the name of Razo. And the theme I get from Black people that live in Japan is that sense of freedom, you know, that less bias. So can you kind of talk about your experience in Japan?
I think there's a different sort of engagement with people when they are looking at you as different, but not looking as you as different from them in a threatening way. It's more novelty. It's like, I've never seen a person with your hair type before. Where are you from? What's your culture? I want to know about you. Or even, you know, if they're children and they're just a little scared because kids are kids, you know, like that's an acceptable amount of, like, you know, of somebody treating you differently because of how you look, especially in a country where everybody's pretty much Japanese. You know, that's a given. But they also just didn't have the same amount of, like, propaganda and enculturation for racism, like, as America has had for 400 years. You know, it's not a part of their culture. They might have certain symbols or imagery and stuff like that have come through film or, like, tchotchkes, because I saw some of that stuff too. And, you know, you've seen that like, stuff with, like, Dragon Ball, where, like, what's his name, Mr. Popo? I was like, when Dragon Ball came over here, I was like, I already knew when Dragon Ball was coming to the States, I was like, people are going to be feeling a way about Mr. Popo. But part of that just came from them interpreting what they were seeing in media, which was America through a white lens. So they were seeing Black people through a white lens. But the more that, you know, they've been exposed to Black culture and, like, especially music and hip hop, you know, that's our global ticket everywhere, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
That's what speaks to people. It's like, to be honest, and I know I'm probably get people throwing stuff at me, but if it wasn't for hip hop, there would be BTS.
No, you absolutely
Koreans
right.
came for the crown, man. They was just like, yo, we feel this. We gonna do this too, you know? And they're doing it. They kill it, you know?
No, and I think the one thing is that when it comes to over Japan, that they resonate with hip hop a little bit more, because they kind of resonate with it when you have, like, a culture of a history of people that's been denied access for freedom for the longest time. And so music is a way to express their feelings and emotion of the current situation. And so it kind of resonates.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's just also, like, I was real big into, like, Japanese hip hop when it was just coming out over there and stuff like that. And I had all the, like, mini discs, and I was, like, you know, listening to, like, King Greta. I was listening to Zebra, you know, and some dudes who could flow, because it's like, phonetically, it's a language where it's like, you could hit some bars in Japanese, like, and, you know, I memorized a couple raps myself. I was like, yo, this is what's up. They get it. They're feeling it, you know, and then they do it in their own way, you know. So it was interesting to find that acceptance through music, through culture and stuff like that, and have people be, like, honestly curious, you know, and have the more natural biases that anybody's gonna have when there's something, like, foreign or unknown, you know, but not have it also have, you know, again, that 400 years of propaganda being told that, like, oh, this person's subhuman, oh, this person was a slave, this person's less than. They didn't have that. It's just more like, hey, I ain't never seen nobody with an afro before. Can I do that with my hair? And I'm like, hey, I mean, I'm going to say no, but it's your country. Go off.
And I feel you, because it comes from an innocent curiosity. Because when you have a history where you have less information when it comes to people of color, you know what I mean? You know, it's very diminutive. And so it comes out really innocent. But again, you still have that element there. But at the same time, it comes from an innocent point. But while you had your experience in Japan, you start looking at Japan comics. So how did that kind of influence you a little bit in, like, with Black?
I think it gave me a really, really big appreciation for black and white comics. You know, like, color for me can distract from storytelling sometimes, and, you know, things are, like, hyper rendered and stuff like that. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I still love, like, comics, but I'm also I'm a little bit older and stuff like that. So I remember when everything was just, like, flat. So you didn't have the, like, high def, like, super computer color stuff. And that was enough, you know. But in Japan, there was just, like, a different pace to this storytelling. There was a lot of focus on, like, you know, just the lines and setting the scene that, like, you kind of, you know, it'll get glossed over in, like, American comics because there's so much color that it's almost like you lose the sense that, like, you know, this artist has drew this, like, dope background, but there's so much going on, like, you miss that. And I found, like, in manga, you get to take the art in a lot more. You get to pay attention to the story a lot more. You're like more engaged. And they also just have like an amazing ability for cliffhangers, man.
Yeah.
And they do it weekly and 18, 16 pages. Every week you're just like, I gotta read the next one. I gotta read the next one, man. And that's something that I've yet to emulate here, but it's definitely something that, like, you know, influences.
And that's the one thing you touch on, important point is, you know, you went to school for psychology over there. So can you talk about that psychology element, which is big? Because when you talk about the cliffhanger, it is that emotional connection you have with the character and the story that kind of pulls you in. So you're not even all about like the imagery of the character, but you're more enticed into the story. So can you talk about how you learned that element from going to school over there and applying that psychology element to it?
It's funny because, you know, I was originally trying to be like a doctor because, you know, what kids' parents don't want them to be a doctor, but then I was like, I had to let that one go. I was like, no, I'm gonna be an English major, chill. But you know, that being empathetic and understanding other people and their motivations and, you know, why people do things is always something that I kind of did naturally, you know, is try to look at things from the perspective of the other, you know, and see where I might have those same feelings, or even if I didn't understand them, like try and like get myself to a place of saying like, well, if I was feeling this way, what would be causing that? Or, you know, what would make me like, you know, be angry in this case or be like sad in this case and stuff like that. And that came over into my writing, is like trying to develop characters and figure out their motivation. So I write psych profiles kind of like on all my characters. Like I'll write like a whole detailed, and sometimes even I'll forget stuff and I'll have to go back and reference their file and be like, oh yeah, what happened to them like in their life that gave them this sort of trauma? So that's got to come through here. People might not know it yet, but at some point we can peel that back. But at least like I know like the motivation for it here. Because another part of my writing is like I don't like to tell people everything up front right away. You know, that doesn't give you the ability to tell a longer story. You know, it's like you kind of like show and then tell a little bit, show and then tell a little bit. And, you know, you kind of got to figure out how to do that in the right way that draws people in, and I'm still learning. But, you know, it's very important to me to like know who each of the characters are before we get into the story, because then they're going to dictate it. You know, I'm already going to know that like, oh, like, so in Black, like Juncture is more of a protectionist, you know? He's not about, you know, getting into a conflict. He knows that like there's not enough like Black people with powers and not enough Black people in the United States to win that kind of war, you know? And so he's like very much about like, I just need to make sure that everybody is safe. I need to make sure that everybody knows how to use their abilities. And, you know, his son Caesar is just like, nah, we about to run it. Like, his kid is just like, throw up your shoes. I'm like, I'm not like trying to like, I'm not trying to hear this. We've been oppressed for too long. And, you know, Kareem, the protagonist in the story, doesn't, you know, he's just trying to figure out between them and then like the man company, he's just seeing these factions within this war that's like people don't even know is going on, and trying to figure out his way, you know. And that's one of the things I do in the story, is I try to tell a story from like, you know, I try to make him a real 15-year-old kid who's just had his entire life yanked away. There's no stop for you in that situation. You know, one of the things I always find a little silly in comics is when they sit there and explain everything. I've learned that you have to explain a little bit more, you know. So you got to take some pauses that aren't like realistic, like, you know, people talking and fighting. Nobody does that.
No. You have to be a little bit detailed. And I love how your mind works when it comes to creating characters, because I think how you create character is like looking at a baseball card. Like in your psychological, in your mindset, is that, you know, these are the details of a baseball play. You know, when you look at a baseball card, you see their stats, where they come from, this and that. And I love how you work that way when you're creating a character, because it makes it kind of super easy when, not super easy, but kind of makes the process a little easier when telling the story a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it saves you time too. It's fun for me, but it also kind of saves you time to have those references, those baseball cards where you can sit there and look at this character again and be like, oh, you know what? I was going to have them do this, but like now I'm looking back at this. If this is something that happened now, this is how they're going to behave, you know? And, that's one of the things that like I try to, always keep, handy. It's like it's like my personal cheat sheet.
And I feel you on that, and I appreciate that. And now that you come back from Japan and you got this game plan, so like, what happens like when you come back to Japan? You're like, all right, we're gonna make this black happen. I'm gonna partner up with Tim Scott. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna do this Kickstarter. We know our worth, because I think that's the one thing important too as comic writers and illustrators is that know your worth. And a lot of people thought you were crazy by setting that bar high when you set up the Kickstarter. Like a lot of people like, what the hell are you talking about? But you knew, and Tim knew that you had something that no one had at that time. So you knew that consumers wanted this. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know that. I felt it, but I didn't know it yet. It's
I'm trying to hype you up, dude.
No, like, and truth be told, like it was a moment for us when I put it out there. I was like, yo, I think it's fire. You think it's fire. Like Kari, Jamal, like a lot of people, Sarah, my editor, all had faith in it, and they were just like, yo. And I was just trying to keep humble and just like, let's put it out there to see what people say. Because I was absolutely ready for people to like hate it and have that be, a validation to me to say like, all right, this was a dumb idea. And be cool with it. Like I would have dropped it. I'd have been like, all right. And I'll tell the truth, Obama was still president then. And when I was putting it out there, I was even feeling, I was like, are we still here? Like I had that moment where I was like, am I writing about a story that's not going to resonate in the last 4 years? But true to form, white people came and like showed us that it is. So I mean, like,
facts.
But it's like, we put it out there and like we hit our goal in like 3 days, and it was blowing my mind because like we hit, the what was it? Times picked it up. Like it just got a lot of press real fast, and like it was just exploding. And that's when I knew. I was like, I guess it was a good idea. I guess people were feeling it.
Very real. And like in 2016 when I reached out to Chaz and Dee Turner, when I like went into the Kickstarter, I'm like, yo, this is different. This is unique. And again, I remember one of my friends was telling me recently that if you write a great story, they will come.
Yeah.
Especially in our culture, is that we're kind of tired of the token character. It's like, oh, we're gonna make this person, but no story development of that character or no story. And the one thing about Black is that the story is rich in story, and you can kind of find similarities with the characters. So going back to that, I'm like, yo, this is going to do well. Even though you, back in the days, you were like, I don't know. But when you hit that goal, I know you got a big head. You're like, all right, this is the shit.
I didn't get a big head. Then I got worried. I was like, because it was so fast. I was like, yo. I was like, I thought we was gonna be struggling. I thought we were gonna have to like really push, really sell people on the idea and stuff like that, and just like really like put in that work, to get past that goal. And we just kept hitting every day. My phone was just blowing up because back then I had the alerts from the Kickstarter app and I had to turn it off because I was at work. And it was just going ping, ping, ping. People thought I had the hotline. It was just like, oh, your girl called. I'm like, no. It's like, but I'm making money though. But it was really validating. And I think that's the thing too. Like to what you said, like a lot of media has for most of its history tokenized us as characters. Hasn't allowed us to be in the room to tell our own stories. And that was something that, because of people like Dwayne McDuffie, I felt it was really important to do. It was something that I tried to empower when I was at DC and we were doing Zuda and stuff. Like, our first book out the gate was Bayou, which was like by, Jeremy Love. I was like, oh, we're going to get some color up in here. I wasn't even going to know. And we're going to get some culture up in here. So, doing stuff like that's always been important to me. And I wanted people to see characters that looked like people that they knew, that they grew up around. I based some of the characters off like my own family and stuff. And that's because I feel like people need to see that. And I've had, people come up to me at like cons and stuff like that and say that very thing, and that's important, You have to see yourself like as those characters. You have to see yourself as like the hero, and you can see yourself as the villain too.
Very true.
I think that was something that Black Panther gave us with Killmonger and stuff like that. They gave us the villain that we wasn't really saying was a villain. It's just like
no, because he resonates with us. Facts. It resonates with us because we can understand his point of view, whether if you disagree with his methods, but you can kind of understand where he's coming from with his frustration.
Yeah, it's like he's wrong, but like he's kind of right too. Just.
Bro, seriously, if you get a chance, check out my YouTube page, Dad Is Not Announced. I have Marcus Williams on, and he did a alternate Marvel universe where Killmonger became king, and he took over.
Oh, of course he did. I mean,
yeah, and so we had like a 2-hour conversation about the psychology of it, and then we also talked about. In the Marvel universe, you talk about Wakanda, but what about Zumanda, with Coming to America? Africa is a big continent. So it had to be another kingdom there. And so we had almost like a 4-hour conversation about the whole plot, conflict, and everything, dude. That shit was crazy. So when you ever get a chance, just go on the YouTube page, check it out.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's what was part of like this whole kind of explosion that we've seen in like media with like Black stories, like really having value and not in a exploitative way. This isn't like the Black exploitation era.
No.
And stuff like that. This is us telling our stories in ways that have like extreme value for people right now.
Yes.
And I think the other part of that value is that viewers and readers are seeing that too, because they've been inundated with just this white male lens in all their stories, and they're seeing through it too. It's like, this is boring. I've seen this before. I've seen this already. So you give them something like Black, and they're like, oh. You give them something like Get Out, they're like, whoa. You give them something like, Black Panther, they're just like, hey now, and there's just value in all of those things, in telling stories from different perspectives, and people don't want to see the same old stuff anymore, and I'm trying to break those boundaries in this story and other stuff I'm working on, to just like try and look at the world from a different view,
And you definitely do it, and like keyword is value. And again, I want to congratulate you on that deal. I know there's things you can't talk about that deal. But also, I want to talk about the importance, because, sometimes what happens is, when people get that deal, then you have like major companies kind of put their hands on the integrity of the story. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, how do you balance the two of, we're in a model of making a profit, making money. We all want to make money. But at the same time, when you work with big companies like that, but keeping the integrity of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a co-producer on the film, and one of the things that I, said to everyone involved is like, I wrote a comic book. This needs to be a film. It's like there's been so many times that people have taken a comic book and tried to like replicate it, and then it's just like it's garbage, like Watchmen.
Right.
It's like. And it's funny because Alan Moore told y'all, he's like, yo, you can't do this as film. Like, this is specifically a comic book. And, beat by beat, it was just off and not as interesting. And I was like, I'm a big fan of, like, The Shining, as a film, because of how much it honors the source material, but is a thing unto itself for all the reasons that it needs to be. So they eliminated the things that wouldn't have translated well in film that were fine for a novel,
Right.
And it's funny to hear that, like, like Stephen King hated that, because it's just like, yo, that's like one of the best horror films in history.
Right. That was one of his best films. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like he had another version of it done later on, I think, for TV, and it was a joke, because it's just like, you put in all this stuff that when you're reading it and you're by yourself, yeah, it's scary and stuff like that, but then you see it in real life and it just looks goofy. So it's like, it did. Like, there's some just like, that's not even scary. That's goofy.
Right.
And it's because you have to respect each medium for what it can give and what it can't, you know? And there's things that you could do in comics that you can't do like in, you know, a movie, you know, because you don't got to worry about budgets. So it's just respecting those mediums and acknowledging that, like, you know, that thing that you made is going to exist in a different way, you know, and just being okay with that sort of thing.
Right.
But, you know, staying true to the one thing that I truly said was just like, the concept is, what if only black people had superpowers? I don't see no white people with no superpowers in these movies. I was like that's literally the point that you have to press in this idea, because what that does is it sets a whole different tone for what the world is at that point. If something like that happens, what changes? What shifts? You know, how do other people react? You know, do they know? What happens if they don't know? And it's like it allows for infinite possibilities. You know, once you kind of just set that in place, you can tell whatever kind of story you want. So it's like, if you want to go tell a story of, like, you know, the past, like, all right, well, what was going on during the civil rights movement if there were black people with superpowers and stuff like that?
There you go.
And I'm like, that's a hot story. Tell that story. You know, it's like, and, you know, hopefully there'll be more room to do that and stuff, because I definitely want to not only explore the universe myself in that way, but open it up for other writers and creators to do that. So if somebody's like, yo, I want to talk about the, like, why the Tulsa massacres really happened, but in your universe. I'm like,
yes.
Right, let's hear what the story is. You know? It's like I want to know. I want to see what black people was up to during Red Summer. It's like,
seriously,
hey, like, you know, like, why did this happen? Why did this not happen? You know, it's funny because I had some people, you know, some haters and stuff like that. They always like to go to the first thing of, like, you know, oh, well, if black people have superpowers, why did slavery happen? I was like, because of bullets.
Yeah.
I was like, just because you can fly doesn't make you bulletproof. It's like, you
Very
think
true.
if a bunch of slavers saw one flying Negro, that they was just going to be okay with that?
No.
Like,
No.
it's like you're not understanding. Like, it's like like all those Batman comics got you goofy. You think one person's just gonna, like, stun? I was like, and that's cool. That's escapism. Like, that's what makes Batman fun. But if I was telling the Batman story, he'd be dead in like 2 years.
Yeah, because all you have to do is shoot him in the head. Take the mask off and shoot him in the head.
And even if you didn't, like, just the broken bones and stab wounds, like a wreck. So,
or just sprinkle some COVID on him.
Yeah. So for me, it's like that's the tone that I'm setting in my book. Like, the tone that you're used to in your superhero books is one where being rich is a superpower. That don't fly in my universe.
No.
That would be dead.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And in my world, it's just like, if black people had superpowers, it's not a come up.
No.
You know? It's not an immediate come up. In fact, it's just another thing that, like, you know, sets us apart and puts pressure on us and creates a world in which people are, like, you know, have, you know, that animosity and stuff. So, like, those are my rules. If you don't like them, go read another comic book.
There you go. Facts. And I think, too, is that we do have superpower. Our powers are the power of empathy, because, you know, if you think about over the time, the 400 years, you know, if you think about it, that, you know, we're justified to have a revolt and go crazy and burn shit down. But, you know, we have this level of empathy, and we believe in, like, one day we'll all hold hands and live in this ideal world.
Right.
Compared to other worlds, other stories where, you know, you had a total revolt, where you had shit that was just, pardon my French, but you had, like, things burned down because, you know, they wanted their independence.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me how so much of the persona of black people in America is painted as violent, is painted as antagonistic. And I'm like, when have we come for you?
No, never.
We've never come for you. You came for us in Tulsa. You came for us in Redwood. Like, I feel for them people who, like, bought that land in Georgia where they're trying to make that, like, township and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, y'all got gun towers yet, though?
No, like, you're right.
I want y'all to live and stuff like that, but history has, you know, a different score. And it's like, it's a strange thing to live to be constantly gaslit in a world where we're painted as like the enemy,
like the villain, the antagonist.
but there's nothing to back that up. And it's like, and I said this to friends all the time. I was like, it's funny how, you know, black people are painted that way, but we've never taken that opportunity because we got access to your food.
Yeah.
We got access to like your security. We got access to your children. It's
right.
like we, if we wanted to,
right. yeah,
10 times over.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
It's never happened. It's never happened.
And I go to people because I'm all about history. I'll go back to World War II. All right, we fight the Nazis. We come back home. We get treated like second-class citizens. No, that could have been our time to revolt. It's like, hey, we helped you take out the Nazis. Like, what's going on? You know, we don't benefit from the GI Bill. You know, and so, but we still believe in that dream, and we followed that agreement that was supposed to be signed and delivered. Say, hey, you know, you're part of this country. You're a part of the development of the country. You know what I mean? And so that right there, in that time, in that era, we could have been like, you know, fuck it, let's get guns, let's just tear everything up. But we didn't, because we believe in that idea, in that idea, that symbolism.
Yeah. Look, there's two things that black people believe the most there is God and America. We uphold that. Like, so many of like people's rights that they enjoy and their freedoms that they enjoy is because of like our efforts, you know, of course with other people involved, but it's like we're the poster child for like everybody's civil rights.
Yeah.
All the stuff that you get to enjoy, we fought for that and died for that.
Yeah.
Like, literally. It's like, we fought in your Civil War over us.
We fought in a Revolutionary War. You know what? We're going to keep you in slavery.
It's like, oh, where I should have kept that gun. You know, it's like, and it's funny, man, because and there's so many points in history, like you said, that like things could have just gone another way, and they didn't. Like, I sometimes wonder, like, you know, after the Emancipation Proclamation, like, you know, Lincoln was like, get out. It was like, here's some money, get out of here. Y'all don't gotta be here anymore. And I don't know who it was I don't know what black fool was in that room. I was just like, man, like, if you built a time machine, that'd be the spot to go back to and be like, bruh, just take the money, let's get out of here.
Seriously, you had Reconstruction. Reconstruction was that small time of possibility that we can all work together. But what happened was you had a portion demographic that felt like if we share this power, we're feared that they're gonna do what we did to them to us. So let's just. And
again, no evidence of that. None.
Yeah.
None.
No.
It's like, Oprah got rich, she ain't do nothing to y'all.
No. Right. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, bro. And
Jay-Z might, but we don't know what his plan is.
Right. Nobody knows, man. Seriously. But yeah, going back to creating that story and that narrative, and that's what I love about Black is that you created this world. This is a realistic world, you know what I mean? Like, if Stan Lee, you know, who, you know, made the X-Men and decided, so you know what? I'm just going to make the X-Men just people of color. You know what I mean? And this is the kind of the vibe I have, but this story is kind of authentic because it's stuff that we deal with as Black men and Black women on an everyday basis. And so, and the only difference is that we don't wear masks. And
that was part of the inspiration for it, because, you know, being someone who grew up reading those books, you know, I'm still an X-Men fan and stuff like that. Krakoa, that's popping. I like it. Like, yeah, man, get yours. Get yours. Like, I love Professor X flexing on everybody. I was like, oh! he finally got woke. All right.
Yeah.
But like, even Magneto just like,
he's like, no, you're like, forget that, man. Let's just blow everything up, man. Seriously, let's start all over again.
But, you know, I looked at those characters and like I knew what those allegories were supposed to be. But for me as a person of color, I'm like, we don't need an allegory. And an allegory, unfortunately, you know, much like my comparison to people not understanding that Batman would be dead, is people seeing, you know, the X-Men as actual like outcasts, and I'm like, how's Jean Grey an outcast?
Right.
She's a beautiful white woman who can go and get a job or do whatever she wants in life, and on top of that, she's telekinetic.
Right.
It's like Cyclops. Wear glasses, man. That's your big problem in life?
Right.
Keep your glasses on. Angel, ooh, life's hard. You rich and you can fly and got wings.
Yeah, you can decide your wings. Yeah.
So I mean, like all those allegories. As I got older, I was like, yeah, this is bullshit, because nobody's pulling Wolverine over for having a nice car.
Yeah. You know no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's like Colossus could just be chilling on the corner. Ain't nobody gonna mess with him. Ain't nobody gonna mess with him. No. And that was the thing that I thought was missing from that allegory, because it's like, this is our real life. We don't have the Sentinels. We got the police. That's the Sentinels for us.
No, you're absolutely right, bro.
Like, the cops roll up on us like, you know, master mold all the time.
No.
So it's like, why can't we just like get rid of that? Get rid of that veneer. We're not talking allegories. This is real stuff.
Right.
And that was when the idea hit me. It's like, well, what if only black people had superpowers? And I was like, yo, let me write this down. And you know, it was just that it was just a very real idea that, you know, I thought, man, nobody's ever thought of coming at it that way before. You know, let's take the very real systemic inequalities and prejudice and add on that super power element that we all enjoy for part of the escapism. But the real thing in this story isn't really the superpowers. It's that black people have them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people miss a little bit, because they're so used to the X-Men. They're still putting that allegory on top of it. And it's like, no, right. The problem is not that they have powers. It's that they are black people and they have powers in a world that's like this world. You know, if that happened, people would feel a way about it.
Yeah, like we can't have them have superpowers. I don't know about that.
The global the global politics would shift so grossly if that became public knowledge, and that's one of the things that, you know, one of the reasons that it's a secret in the story is because if that was public knowledge, that just completely upends the world.
Yeah,
like, because you think about, and I haven't even explored that part of it yet, but it's like, you think about what you know in America and how black people are going to be treated if something like that comes out. Think about China.
Yeah, absolutely right, man.
Think about Africa.
Yeah.
You know, think about all of the places where you think like, it's like, oh, we got racism and bigotry here. It's like, yo, they dead ass got concentration camps in China. The Ungars are just getting like re-educated and stuff like that. You're right. You're a black person who shoot lasers out of your eyes, and you in China, that's the wrong place for you to be.
Yeah.
That's the wrong place for you to be. You know? And it's and that's the difference, you know, because you could be in the X-Men world and be that character, and nothing really changes for you. Yeah. Because you can if you're a native, you can pass as a native.
Yeah. If
you're not, you're still just like a foreigner there. And now you've got like the characters who are like big and blue and made out of globs and stuff like that, and that's a little different for them. But you know, for the ones that we all grew up reading, they were just pretty white people. You know, I was like, Wolverine, you got
claws,
knives in your hand.
Yeah,
and you can't die. No, it's like, you can't die. It's like, what's your life problem? Oh, you can't remember who you are?
Yeah.
You remember the knives though, right? It's like nobody can stun on you. And even if they do beat your ass, you heal.
Yeah.
Like, boo-hoo, man.
No, you're absolutely right, man. It's if you think about the principles of the story, that's the reality, you know. But that's true. But going back to the film, I know you can't talk about it. I kind of have an idea who might be the director, but I'm not going to say anything. I know we talked about privately to Gmail and everything like that. But like, talk about how you know, when you see you yesterday and you saw your book in the movie, how did that felt? Was that kind of like that recognizing, like, I made it, that my book is in the film.
It just felt cool because it's like that's the kind of synergy and like connected tissues I want to continue to see in Black media. We're always just big up in each other, like stuff that we're a fan of, you know, that we could put somebody else on, even if it's just like a little thing in the background, a little prop, a little like, you know, character reference and stuff like that, you know, like that to me is like how we build on this, you know, on what we're doing by, you know, always kind of like keeping an eye out for like what each other's doing and just being fans of ourselves. Like I loved how like Issa Rae, like she put it down. She's just like, I'm here for the Black people. I was like, right? It's like, who am I cheering for? Like y'all been got. Like, I'll even vote for the bad Black stuff. Like I buy all the Black movies now. I've bought stuff and don't even watch it. I just buy it so their numbers go up. You know, I do. You know, it's like I don't like. That's just me, you know, and I have no shame about it because Jordan Peele, you know, put that bug in my ear when he just came out and said it. He's like, "Oh, I'm not making any movies that don't have Black characters. What are y'all, foolish?" there's like, I'm one person. There's thousands of other people who are white and they're gonna make white characters. Y'all good. You got you. Yeah. we need somebody to just represent us. He's like, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not, you know. And people were trying to throw shade. It was like, oh, that's like, you know, like reverse racism or whatever. I'm like,
it's creating it's creating an ecosystem of opportunity. Because if you look about it, like one of the best ecosystems when you think about it of bringing people up is comedy. If you think about it, like if you think about like Eddie Murphy and he had his clique. In every movie he had someone of color that you didn't know was in there. Like Coming to America, you had Cuba Gooding Jr., you had Samuel L. Jackson, you know, if you go like to his other movies, like he had, you know, Kevin, I think he had I'm like blank right now, but he had like a bunch of people before they blew up in the movie. And he gave opportunity to a lot of people, even behind the scenes too.
Yeah, Spike Lee too, man. They were all doing it. Like, yo, one of my favorite things to watch is like the behind the scenes for like Malcolm X. That movie was Black through and through.
Yes.
From production to like, like all the way through. I was like, that was how he did it. And like, that's another thing that I think about because I'm like, yo, this movie comes out through Warner. A bunch of Black people are going to have jobs. Somebody's going to become a star. It's like, that makes me happy. That makes me super happy. Like, that gives me joy to know that like I'm getting a blessing, but like that's going to continue for other people, and I just want it to be successful for that reason, you know, because you know, and that's the other reason. Like with my stuff, I'm gonna stick on my Jordan Peele too. It's like everything I'm writing now is Black, Black characters, Black people, and from all different perspectives. You know, it's like. That was the other thing with Black that I tried to do is like introduce a bunch of characters, maybe too many, I admit, but you know, a bunch of characters.
You can't have enough.
Well, there aren't enough, and that was the thing that I was like, we have so few Black characters. I tried to put all of them in my book.
No, that's fine. That's like a superhero version of a different world, man. You had like you had like the cast of Different World, and they're all superheroes, man.
Yeah. And so that's something important to me because it's like maybe like that one scene with that one character will speak to some kid in the future, and if this is still like, you know, a platform, they'll write, you know, a story about Indigo or Zero or Hood Rat or one of these characters and stuff like that, and I want to be able to pass that baton, you know, along the way too, you know, like that's important. That's how we build, you know, and that's how we create, you know, wealth in this country has been denied us, and we've done it any way we can, you know. Yeah. Despite everything, we've still made money. It's like y'all. So it made me think about like a question that people have always asked me, like what's Kareem's power, the protagonist in Black, and I was like, oh, his power is survival. Yeah. He can survive anything. Like that's his power. Like he survives, he becomes better after that. He adapts to it and he continues on. It's like the best superpower ever. You know, it's like he can't die. Like you can't kill him, you know? And I wanted him to be sort of like the allegory for us. It's like, you tried. I
Yeah,
lived.
we still here.
Like,
And
I
I feel
lived.
you on that, man. And it's dope because it goes back to, our power to survive and innovate.
Yeah.
And our greatest innovation is through art and music. Even as well as technology too, sometimes most of the time we don't get credit from it. We'll find out like 30 years later that, oh yeah, this black person did this. This black woman was important to NASA or this and that, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, look at your face.
No, I'm just saying, because it's like I didn't know that, because like there's so much history it's not taught to us either. It's just one of those little things where just like, how are you gonna leave that out of like our textbooks? Like, why don't people know about Katherine Johnson? Like, that's crazy. She was an actual computer. Before you had a computer in your phone, that was her job.
She was a human computer, yes.
Yeah. She wasn't even a human. That's just what they call computers.
Yeah, it's a black woman.
They kept telling me when I was watching the film, because it was like, she's our computer, and I'm just like, I kept looking around for like a Mac or an Apple. I'm like, who are you talking about? I was like, no, that was your job. I was a computer. You gave me math, and I spit out answers. Because I was fresh with it. And it's like stuff like that, where it's just like, we need to see more of that. We need to see ourselves not just as one type of character, because we aren't one type of character. It's just like why I love so much now. Like, there's so much blurred culture in comics now that's popping up, and I'm like, we didn't even have a name back then. It's like, if you was just black and nerdy, you was black and nerdy. Like,
black and
nerdy, but now, it's a culture.
No, it is.
Now you got DC fandom doing like Blurred and Bougie. I'm like, stop playing. That's what's up. It's like there's so much value in history and richness stuff that people still haven't even seen, and they want to see.
They want
to see,
and it's profitable right now in the current environment we live in right now. It's profitable because I've had conversations with people and the things I've heard and things like that. Right now we're in reconstruction, the third reconstruction, and so the key thing is how do yourself, content creator, illustrator, comic writers, how do we fit in this world? Because you have companies throwing money out to people like, oh, we support Black Lives Matters, we want to do this, we want to do this initiative, but how do we ingrain in ourselves to take an opportunity to take advantage of it right now? Because right now this is the best opportunity for black people in America, and then take advantage of it. And the beauty of black is you're it's like you're striking it like rubbing the genie bottle a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like you're in that climate now where everybody wants to be familiar with black culture, which it's been like that for a long time, but is more I would say relevant now because of the current climate we live in. Yeah,
and they want the authentic culture.
Right.
They're not trying to take it and respin it or make it in a way that's comfortable. And we're not allowing them to either, because, much like with police brutality, it's like, we've got documentation now.
Right.
But what you thought we didn't have black lawyers, didn't have black agents, we gonna represent us. And I think just as much of that as possible that we can create and that we can support is necessary. So, it's just like when you asked me to come on, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come on. Let's do this.
And I'm happy that you remember the Chronicles of a Hip Hop Legend radio show a little bit.
I love it because
a little bit.
I love the name of it because it reminded me. Did you ever watch Super Rumble Mix show on YouTube?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Man, it was that kind of name where I was just like, whatever this is, I want to be on that. Let's happen. Let's do it.
And then also, I got a little in trouble, but when I saw the photo of your book in that Netflix film, I put it out there. I got in trouble for it, but because it's a long story, but but when I saw that initially, that's when I messaged you. I'm like, yo, did you see your thing on there? And you're like, Yeah, I seen it. Yeah, 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 yeah. He was like real humble about it. Like, yeah, yeah, it's there. Yeah, yeah. I knew about it, and I wanted to let people know, yo, I know this cat. Like, I knew this dude from the early days of his Kickstarter, and now his book is in this film. And no, people need to know that, you know what I mean? And so it's just an honor and a pleasure to, get a chance to talk to you again and to see where you're at right now. And exciting to see what's going to happen like 5 or 6 years from now, because the way I got the information is they're trying to make this into a actual I can't think of the word, but actual like not like a series, but like to do like multiple movies of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So the deal is for like they're hoping they can make it into a franchise. Like they see the potential of it, and they want it to be bigger than just like one film and stuff like that. And it's Warner Brothers, so if anybody can do it,
That's right.
they can do it. It's like, let's go Matrix with this. Yeah, you can make up for Will Smith not being in the Matrix. Nah, I think it would have been the same film, but whatever.
Right. So before I let you go, man, what do you have to say to that young, inspiring writer that's like 5 or 6, that kind of like on the edge, like they're not too sure if their work is good or not. So what advice do you have to give them?
It doesn't matter if your work is good or not. It matters if you have a story to tell and you're passionate about doing it, because you're always going to be growing as a creative, as a writer, and looking back on your past efforts, either with nostalgia or in my case, with like, I need to rewrite that. But that's a good place to be. That's art. Art grows and it changes, and you're never in the same spot that you were like then as you were before. Like, it's funny, I was looking through some of my old stuff when I used to draw and found some of my old art books, and I was like, whoa, what was I on? But that's the thing. You just gotta keep at it. You just gotta keep those stories in your heart and put them out there. And that's the other thing too. Don't be afraid to put your stories out there. So much has changed, in just the last 10 years, last 20 years. Like, black is not something that necessarily would have happened 10 years ago when I came up with it, or was it 15 years ago? Because that was a different age, so I was able to do it because Kickstarter existed, and who knows what'll exist. If you're 5 right now, who knows what's going to exist in 10 years?
Sure, you put it on Twitter, somebody big might see it and your life change.
Yeah, or just everybody will see it and vibe with it, because like that's how people build audiences. It's like tell a story that's true to you and to your heart and that you want to share with people. And if it finds people, great. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean anything, because the success is not in you gaining like followers or like gaining like all this money and stuff like that. It's like I'm still happy from the Kickstarter. Like, that day is the happiness that I carry around with me. And then the second happiness is like knowing that like something that I made is going to benefit other people. Like, those are the joys that I keep in myself, and that's all that matters, because I'm good. Like, if this don't work, I got a job. I'll go do something else.
There you go. But I'm confident it's going to be successful, man. It's just, it's a great story, and they need to add this to the universe, to the Warner Brothers universe. They need it. So.
Yeah, and they've been showing off, like, too many black facts coming out of.
No, it was the shot clock. It was the Instagram shot clock.
That's cool. I get
it. They like Instagram, like they talking too much knowledge. There's too much knowledge. We gotta shut them down. Too much knowledge, too much black knowledge, man. We can't have that. That's messing with the algorithm. But yeah, man. But yeah, finish what you were saying. But yeah, because the children need to know this, man. They need to be inspired.
No, it's like that stuff's making money. It's like I'm about to go watch Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Like, Watchmen, the TV show, is way better than the comic book.
Facts.
And it's black. It's black. It's not even like slightly black. It's real black.
Right. And I think what I love about both stories, it gets people engaged into the history.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing with Watchmen. Like the first episode, everybody was googling the Black Wall Street Massacre.
A lot of people did not know about that until that show, which blew my
Yep.
mind because I knew about that.
Yeah, I did too.
It was
I
like,
knew about that when I was like 7 years old.
I didn't find out. I found out about it like a little bit older and stuff like that because my pops is big on like, oh, you gonna know your history.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Because at that time, they called that a riot. They called that a riot. A riot. Yeah.
Every single time they came for us, that's exactly what they call it.
Yep.
It's like it's not a riot. You came to kill us. Call it what it is.
No, but
it's good to put that out there because a lot of people again they hadn't seen the world through that view, and then to base so much of the backdrop of that story around that event is very important to like really make sure that it's like it wasn't just a jump off point. It's like
no,
this is the whole. It's part of the whole story. Yeah.
No, for real. It kind of felt like Public Enemy, the track from Do the Right Thing. Like it punched you right in the face. It's like, oh damn. And they hooked you in and then you just watch the rest of the episodes. And
exactly.
They did that geniusly.
And the thing is too is like they didn't just pigeonhole us in some part of the culture that people were familiar with. It's like these characters were black. They made them foundationally black. But then you slide into it and like Sister Midnight, she's a cop. She's doing cop things.
Right.
And she's living her black life as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's interwoven in a way. And the show is weird.
No.
I love when I see weird black stuff because I'm like, y'all think we just one thing. We weird too.
Right.
We're weird. We're creative. We're silly. We're like, straight, gay, tall, big. Like we're just,
Right.
We are not your Negro.
No, we're not typecast. We're not put in the box. I'm just saying we can be homeboy out of space, but we can also be watched. We can be watched, man, too.
Yeah. I was like, and now we Dr. Manhattan. Deal with it. But I love that stuff, and I love that I love that other people accepted it too.
Yeah.
Like that show became must-watch TV.
No, it was.
It became people were like, I gotta see it because I can't go on Twitter the next day because people are gonna tell me all the Watchmen stuff happened.
For real. And I love how Watchmen just made it one season and that's it. It's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do, and that's it. You're not gonna get any more.
I love that stuff, man. One and done's like that's it for me for a lot of stuff, Or it's like, I would like to create something where it's just like it might be one and done, but then like, all right, now you pass the baton. You do something with it,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be me like directing it all of the time and stuff. Like create something for people to like, a sandbox for everybody to play in.
Right, and it just has that timeless feel to it. Like 20 years from now, people still gonna talk about that.
Yep. And be able to watch it too, and just be like,
and watch it, yeah. Cause
what's up with man with the grease? What's up with grease? What happened? That was the wildest part of that show. Like after that happened, I was just sitting there for a minute, like,
for real.
And then man never showed up again. He was like out just like that, like done. You had to go read the side things to find out who that was. I was just like, oh, that was wild.
For real, bro. For real, man. But, man, I love this conversation, man. I could talk to you for like 3 hours, seriously. But I know you got things to do. You got a job, and you got, things you need to take care of. But I do want to offer you an olive branch. I have this thing with a couple of my buddies from Jake Nation. It's called Below the Surface, where we're going to do a thing every month where we get like a Black illustrated comics, and we talk about subjects that affect us. We finished one episode already. We're going to post it today. So I want to reach out to you, see if you'd be interested. I'm thinking we'll probably do it within like 2 weeks tops. And we'll get yourself and a couple of other people and just talk about subjects that matter to us. Because that's the one thing, in this world that we live in, we haven't had that conversation when it comes to like people like yourself.
Yeah.
Or even like Marcus, or like those the indie black comic creators or writers. There haven't been a platform where discuss issues that's important to us as a culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Send me the link. Let me see it. I'm interested. I'll be down for that.
All right, dope, man. Don't be a stranger. Anytime you want to come on, like you say, hey, yo, Ish, you want to be an extra in the film? Like, all right, I'm down. Let me be. You know what I mean? For real, I'll be the dude at the hot dog stand. I'll be giving hot dogs to people. I don't care.
I'm gonna have to like try and put a bug in there. It's like, you got to do an open cast call for like black people. Like that's
right.
Like, extra. Like.
Oh man. But for real, man, thanks for the love. I appreciate it. Just let people know where they can find you and like what you got going on next.
So we are wrapping up production on the sequel to Black, White, right now. It's going to be going out to Kickstarter backers real soon. You can find me on Twitter at Kwanza, KWANZER. Same thing here on Instagram. It's right down there in the feed. And I just started a new site, KwanzaOsajyefo.com. That's just my personal site. You go there, check it out. There's not a lot on there yet, but I'm starting to do like the Black Superpower gear and stuff like that. So if you want
I need that.
Shirt,
I need that.
Do that.
I need that superpower hat, man. I know that gives you superpower, so I need that in my life. I need that superpower hat.
I call it blurred couture, man. That's what it's for.
I need that, man.
All right.
I don't know if you have a size for my big head, because I got a big head. So
I got a big head too. This is the extra large.
So you might have to get like a lampshade and a brim, and then.
Like, okay, so you tell me it's like I gotta put some bucket hats on there, right?
Right.
Get some bucket hats.
Right. But let me let you go, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you too. It's good talking to you, man.
You too, bro. All right.
Have a good night.
Peace.